This is the IELTS listening test. You will hear a number of different recordings and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now turn to Part 1. Part 1.
You will hear a woman phoning to inquire about exhibition information. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Good morning. You're through to the events coordinator at the Birmingham City Council. How may I help you?
Hello there. My husband and I are interested in purchasing tickets to the automobile exhibition, but I couldn't find many details about it on your website, and I was wondering whether you could provide me with some more information. Does it open in June?
Yes, of course, madam. The exhibition will take place during July and will showcase the history of automobiles from the very first commercial car in the late 1800s all the way through to the present day.
Is the exhibition open for the duration of July?
No, madam. The exhibition will last 3 days, from the 1st of July to the 3rd of July, and then the cars will be taken to another exhibition.
Okay. Does the exhibition focus on a certain manufacturer?
No. It will showcase a wide range of manufacturers.
Wonderful. I'm ever so fed up of going to these shows and only seeing one manufacturer. Are there any opportunities to sit in or even drive the cars?
There will be many opportunities for you to sit in the cars. However, some of the cars will only be available to observe. We are yet to be told whether any of the antique cars will be available to drive. However, there will certainly be an opportunity to test driving some of the more modern cars on a purpose-built track.
That sounds like great fun. I mustn't forget to bring my camera, or my husband will never forgive me.
I'm afraid to say that cameras are actually strictly not allowed to bring into the exhibition. There will, however, be a section where a professional photographer will be available to take photos of you sitting in a car in period clothing.
Well, that sounds like it could be fun, but I assume the photos won't be free.
On the contrary, one free photograph is included within every ticket, but each photo after this will cost £5.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
That's a nice surprise. Not many things are free anymore. I've been asking around about the ticket prices, but I haven't yet had a definite answer. Is it correct that the tickets are £100, whether you buy them now or on arrival?
I'm afraid not. If you buy the ticket in advance, the price is £110, but it's £165 on the door.
Oh, goodness. I suppose I'd best pay for them now then. Is it possible to buy tickets from you now over the phone?
Yes, of course, madam. I'll transfer you to the box office manager, Mark Edgeworth. That's EDGEWORTH. And he will probably need to take your credit card details and some personal details.
Yes, that's fine. Before you transfer me, I just need to ask a few more questions. Will the exhibition be held in the Birmingham Exhibition Centre? I think that's where I went last time.
No, madam. The Birmingham Exhibition Centre is currently undergoing some renovations, so this year all exhibitions will be held in the Summer Palace.
Summer Palace? I'm not entirely sure where that is.
Well, it's not too far from City Centre. Once you're in the centre, you should be able to find signs for the palace. If not, most people in Birmingham will be able to direct you.
Neither my husband nor I am particularly good with directions. Is there anywhere I can find this information on the internet?
Our website will give you an address. Perhaps you could visit www.directions.com for more detailed information, and they should be able to provide you with step-by-step instructions.
Okay. And is this the best way to contact you, by phone?
I think the most convenient way to contact us is inquiring online, which is much simpler than having to dial various different numbers to reach the right person. Unless you have any more questions, I'll transfer you now.
No, that's great. Thank you for your help.
That is the end of part 1. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to part 1. Part 2.
You will hear a presenter on a radio show. The presenter is reading out letters sent in by listeners to the show. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Now listen and answer questions 11 to 16.
Hi, you're listening to Mark Ambrose, and I'll be with you through to midday on Talkback, the show where you tell us what you think about Radio Western. I'm sure you've all heard we have a new boss here at Radio Western, and she's very keen to get your feedback. Well, you've certainly taken her invitation seriously. We'll be dipping into the postbag for your feedback in just a moment, and speaking to a surprise guest or two later in the show. I must start by saying a big thank you to Tony Marsons. Judging by your letters, he did a great job of covering the show last week whilst I was away. Thanks, Tony, if you're listening, and thanks for all the emails asking about my holiday. I had a long, rather boring flight home late last night, but I must say I had a wonderful time. The food was absolutely delicious, and the locals we spoke with were really friendly. Shame about the weather, which was an absolute washout, but you can't have everything, I suppose. And the kids loved it, so everyone was happy. Anyway, on to the first of your letters. Sally from Liverpool is very concerned about the consequences of the cutbacks we've been experiencing here at Radio Western. In particular, whether some of our late-night music shows could be facing the axe. We're force-fed a great deal of pop music throughout the day, writes Sally, and some of your listeners look forward to the more niche musical genres you cover in the evening. Are these in danger when you rearrange the schedule? Not at all, Sally. In fact, look out for 1 or 2 exciting new shows over the coming weeks. We've got a brand new classical music show coming soon, and the return of the ever-popular Chris Green with his show on international folk music. And of course there's Carol Whittaker's History of Jazz every Friday night. Hopefully this will put your mind at rest, Sally.
Before you hear more of the radio show, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
John from Leicester writes in to point out that many of our guests on Talkback and other shows seem to run out of time before they have the chance to finish the interview. It happens again and again, writes John. As the programme draws to a close, guests get rushed and many questions go unanswered. Why don't you offer some kind of after-show online channel where the guest can continue answering listeners' questions? I think that's a great idea, John. And, as you go on to say, if it were recorded, people who don't get the chance to hear the live show could catch up later. We'll certainly pass this one up to management. I'm sure a service like this would go down really well on our website. Now, Clive has a question that would be of interest to all us over 50s fans of Radio Western. Clive wants to know why we don't feature more issues related to this age group and cater more to this group's taste in music. As Clive explains, as a regular listener, I'm concerned about your age profiling. Presenters seem intent on covering topics that appeal very much to the 30-somethings, which is great for them, but what about people of other ages? Clive would like to see music shows aimed at the older generation and more on problems facing the over 50s in our consumer affairs shows. Well, Clive, we'd certainly hate to think you're feeling excluded from our schedule. What about other listeners? Do you think we're getting it about right, or is there room for improvement?
That is the end of part 2. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 2. Part 3.
You will hear 2 university students discussing how they should prepare for a presentation they are to give. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hi Kelly, how are you?
Fine, thanks. Do you still have time to talk about our presentation?
Yeah, for sure. We need to get going on this, don't we?
Well, it's next Wednesday, so yes.
Thought it was Thursday.
No, that's the other group. We're doing ours the day before. I've just seen Fiona. She's going to be a bit late, so shall we just get started?
Yes, fine. We're definitely doing it on women in education, aren't we? I know we talked about women in politics, but are we going for education?
Yes, that's right. Now, it's not too long, is it, the presentation? They said to keep it to about half an hour. Maybe we can sort out who's doing what today.
Yes, good idea. One thing we do need to sort out is a projector and laptop. We're going to use PowerPoint or something like that for the talk, aren't we?
Yes, they said we could book a projector and laptop from technical services if we needed them, because it's not in the lecture theatre, is it? I know there's already one set up in there, but...
No, the lecture theatre was booked. We're in the seminar room.
Before you hear more of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
OK, so what's the next step? We need to work out who's doing what, don't we?
Well, we all know the subject, seeing as our last essay was on this topic.
Yes, but we can't just stand up and ramble on. It'll need to be structured. I've got an idea. Fiona's essay was brilliant, wasn't it? Why don't we base the talk on that? We can always add bits here and there if we think it needs padding out anywhere.
That's a good idea. Shall we ask her to get a copy of it for both of us?
Yes, I'm sure she won't mind. We can always let everyone know at the start of the presentation that it's Fiona's work. But we don't want to just read it out. That'll be really boring. It's probably best to make notes from it so that we can improvise a bit on the day.
Why don't we break the essay down into sections and the three of us can each take on one section? We can all make notes on our own part and add to it where we think it needs it. That way we can try to make it our own.
Yes, I like it. So let's ask Fiona to start the talk off and bring it to a close. She can take on the introduction and conclusion. I know she divided the essay into the situation for women in the past and then compared it to how things are now. So why don't I take the bit on the past and you talk about the situation for women as it is now?
OK. If we give ourselves till the weekend to work on it, we can get together on Saturday to see how it's looking. Now, what about the presentation itself? Someone will need to build that and find images. We don't just want to fill each slide with a load of text, do we?
No, we don't. Before I forget, I can sort out the laptop and projector. I've got to go down to technical services to get them to have a look at my laptop. They reckon they can get it to run a bit faster. But the presentation, who's good with computers? Do you fancy having a go?
I don't mind. But I'll wait until we've met up on Saturday just to make sure we've all got our notes.
We'll need images, won't we? Shall we all search for our own to fit our section of the talk?
Yes. And then if you and Fiona email them to me, I'll add them to the presentation.
Right. That was easy, wasn't it? And look, here comes Fiona. Let's ask her about her essay.
That is the end of part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 3. Part 4.
You are going to hear a lecturer giving a talk on time management strategies. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Hi everyone. Today Mark has come in to talk to you about time management strategies. If you remember, in the introductory session, I told you the difference it can make to your studies, so this is an incredibly important session. Thanks, Mark.
Hello. Yes, I'm Mark. I lecture over in the business school, but I have a bit of a reputation for being rather evangelical about time management, and I'm often invited into other courses to talk about it. So, here I am. You've now come to the end of your first week at university, and you've probably noticed how different it is from school or college. For some people, this step up comes very naturally, but in our experience, many students find this new regime a challenge. People aren't watching over you anywhere near as much, and you're expected to be far more responsible for your own learning. Research I've carried out shows that 65% of male students have poor time management skills. It's not quite so high for females, but still, a majority of 55% would benefit from developing these skills. Students who don't will see their grades and general progress suffer as deadlines are missed or work gets rushed, with a decline in the quality of work as a result. In a nutshell, you need to be aware of the big picture, to know what's coming down the line at any given time and what needs prioritizing. Start by creating that big picture using our yearly academic planner, and don't hide it away in a drawer somewhere. Give it pride of place somewhere, like on the bedroom wall, so you'll have daily reminders of what's approaching. During this first week, you'll have been given seminar and lecture times, essay deadlines, exam dates, and so on. Add these dates to your planner and add any new deadlines, such as seminar presentations or tutorial dates, as you get them. Those important non-academic occasions shouldn't be ignored either. Trips back home for family celebrations need to be factored in. Looking at your planner, the first thing that will strike you is how much time you have on your hands. Just a few seminars here and there, a couple of lectures on Tuesday and Thursday. Easy, you think. But this is very misleading indeed. Your planner only looks empty because it doesn't show all that essential self-study you'll need to do. And, as there's no one else structuring this time for you, you'll need to manage this yourself. You don't want to waste those hours between lectures or seminars in the cafe. Use this time to read through your lecture notes, prepare for the next seminar, or do some research for that next assignment. Essentially, structure your days on a 9-to-5 basis as if you were a full-time employee, and start to calculate how you're going to fill those gaps efficiently. Start by considering how you're going to meet all those deadlines. If there are any cooks among you, you'll know that putting a nice meal on the table requires more than just, well, cooking. You need to research the ingredients, buy them, chop, slice, mix, and so on. Cooking itself is a long way into the process. It's the same with that essay you have to write, or that presentation you might have to make. They need careful planning beforehand, and that time needs to be built into your preparation. Start prioritizing what needs doing and when. Download our monthly and weekly planners to help you map it all out. And here's an important point. When you're planning what to do, be task-oriented rather than time-oriented, and set achievable goals. Finding images for a presentation, for example, is measurable. Simply writing research 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. isn't. This task-oriented approach will be immensely helpful, forcing you to break your preparation down into individual, achievable steps. Try to assess when busy periods are likely to occur, such as the week leading up to an assignment deadline. Are there any evenings during the week you could put aside for extra work? And, just as importantly, make a note of any times you won't want to be working. You'll need time for you. Sessions in the gym, evenings when your favorite programs are on TV. Don't forget to schedule in time for non-academic activities like going shopping or doing the laundry. It's best to have a fixed time each week for jobs like these, so they don't interfere with your academic work. Finally, decide where you're going to do your self-study. Will you be distracted by the TV, the internet, or friends if you stay in your room? Perhaps the library will be a better place. Anywhere that encourages you to prevaricate should be avoided at all costs. Starting with the big picture and then working towards individual goals will leave you feeling in control, rather than being pulled here and there, firefighting as the next deadline looms.
That is the end of Part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to Part 4. That is the end of the listening test. In the IELTS test, you would now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.